Okay, that's perfect. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, good morning.
Thank you very much for being with me today. I'm super happy to record this podcast with you.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so actually the story of having you in this podcast is pretty cool. I need to thank Olivier for that. I know he's listening to the podcast sometimes. A few years ago, I interviewed Laurent Delaunay in Burgundy,
Yeah, wow.
and I just connected with Olivier, who is in Shanghai. He's responsible for Asia, and when we arrived in Hong Kong, I just sent him, a message saying, "Hi, who should I meet in Hong Kong?" And he immediately told me, "You should go see Natalie."
Oh, so kind of him.
So it's great that we have this opportunity. Obviously, we'll talk about a lot of things today. You have definitely a wonderful vision of the wine business here in Hong Kong and in Asia in general. But first, can you start by introducing yourself?
Absolutely. I just want to start off by thanking you for having me on the podcast. And you have been doing such a fantastic job in growing this little platform. So congratulations on that. For me, my name is Natalie Wang. I'm the founder and editor of Vino Joy News, a media platform focused on reporting on what's happening in the wine industry in China, Hong Kong, and rest of Asia. I created the platform in 2019, in the middle of 2019, right before the pandemic. So it's amazing actually for me to actually think, wow, it's been 6 years already. So that's me in a nutshell.
How did you came to creating this platform?
Oh, it was completely pure out of frustration. I mean, there's no better words to say it. Because I joined the wine industry in 2015, first starting working for James Suckling, the wine critic, and then later working for Drinks Business in Hong Kong as their managing editor for Asia, covering the wine and spirits industry across Asia. And at the time, China market was booming, but the coverage and the information about the market is so limited. And I was so frustrated that we don't have a platform dedicated to reporting on this market like China, Hong Kong, rest of Asia, mostly because of language limitation. We do have some coverage locally, but unfortunately it's either in Chinese or in Korean or in Japanese. So I thought we need an English platform to sort of get the messaging, get the stories out. So anyone who is interested in this part of the market can find a platform to get all the information that they want.
And so so you joined James Suckling in 2016?
2015.
Right? 2015?
Yeah.
Before that, you were already working in the wine industry? Or you were
no,
mostly...
actually not. Before that, I was working in news, but reporting and writing on China politics. At the time, I was with Reuters, actually in Hong Kong bureau as well. Later, I joined a lifestyle magazine and covering jewelry and gemstone trade. So wine is something completely different and new to me. And to be honest, I wasn't even a wine drinker before that. So there was something I quickly discovered and fell in love with.
It's funny because in the podcast, we also had Jane Hanson coming, and she has kind of a similar story on this side, is that basically she was a journalist, so writing about news, and then found in writing about wines, and then never left the wine industry, and now she's one of the most influential critics in Bordeaux.
Amazing. So. Now she's really the authority in Bordeaux.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's pretty fun how people come to wine by accident and actually stay then in the wine industry.
For me, the story was even funnier because I remember I started working for James, and it was at the time when he was doing Great Wines of the World event. And so there was a lot of tasting and dinners and drinking. And because I never drank that amount of wine in my life, so the first week after working for him, my body just reacted violently. I have rashes breaking out everywhere. And I thought to myself, my God, I gotta quit. I can't do this. And then I talked to James. I'm like, oh, James, I think I have to resign. I just can't do it. My body can't accommodate. And then he's the one told me, oh, you need to, so pace yourself, slow down and build up your tolerance and, don't just binge on it. And then that really turned out to be a good piece of advice.
Yeah, definitely. How was it? How was your first week at James Suckling? Must have been exhilarating doing all these wine tastings. What did you learn with James Suckling?
I think, it just is, even looking back, I think one of the things I learned most from James is his work ethics. He really, really works hard. And I think that's very meaningful for me when I started the company. I just looking at how he did it, because he felt a tremendous sense of pressure and also a tremendous sense of responsibility as well to build the company and grow the company, because it's his name on the company, jamessuckling.com. So seeing him back then, we were working from his apartment on Old Peak Road. So, every day I go there 8 a.m., he's already up by 2 hours, like answering emails and doing all those things. You can see really his work ethics. He works very hard and what he's doing. So I think that's something I definitely respect and admire.
And how was the wine education there? So I guess you, like James Suckling is known for tasting a lot of wines, like really amounts and different numbers of wine.
Yeah.
But were you like specialized on one region? Were you trying to taste everything you could? Did you have a method?
I wasn't really like tasting to review any of those wines, but definitely working for James, you had the opportunity to have the access to so many different types of wines. He was very open-minded and very encouraging for you to try different things, discover your palate. So I think that was really good. And for me, as someone who never really drank wine before, and having that accessibility and, like to taste so many different things, and it was just so exciting and exhilarating. And that was sort of the first time actually tasting great wines and discover interesting varietals and, and fine wine as well. So that was really fun.
And there, so you were not reviewing wines, but you were more in charge of like editors work, doing research, doing
Yeah, more on the content side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and mainly written content. Okay. So then you told me you moved to another media. Which one was it? I didn't wrote it.
So after that, I moved to the drinks business, which is a UK-based media, sort of covering anything related to alcoholic beverage. So I was their managing editor in Hong Kong, based here as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a small team back then.
Okay, and must have been like kind of the same atmosphere, maybe a bit less tasting.
Yes, definitely less tasting. And it was fun because with James, you definitely are reviewing about the wine. It's wine criticism. It's very, it's a different arena of journalism. With drinks business, it's very much sort of hard-hitting news reporting. So you get to see a different side of how, about wine writing, essentially. So that was really fun. And I definitely enjoy that a little bit more because my training as a journalist, that's more in line with what I was educated about, what I was trained for. So I really enjoy that job too.
Yeah. I guess it must have been also super interesting at that time to transition to really economic business side of things.
Exactly. So it's really transitioned me from like, just tasting wine to really understanding the business of wine, like the industry of wine, the economics, how wine is sold, on-trade dynamics, consumer dynamics. So that that really is quite a good experience for me.
And so just after that, you decide to actually quit and go back to your apartment and do what James Suckling was doing, which is basically working super hard from
scratch with no funding. Everything, comes straight out of my own pocket, no investment whatsoever. But at the time, I was just so convinced because think about it, 2019 was still when China's market was booming. It was coming off from a peak, but still that was sort of like really the golden days of China. And also Hong Kong and Asia, I just feel like there's so many things happening on the ground, yet we're so limited by language and coverage as well, because nothing is really being reported or circled back to what's on the producer side, because they read perhaps what's been written in drinks business, wine searcher, but the reporting on this part of the market is so scarce and limited. So I thought we really needed a platform to write diligently about what's happening on the ground, talk to the key stakeholders, importers, distributors, big wine companies, sommeliers on the ground to really get a sense of that sort of reality back to producers to help them better understand the market, make better and informed decision.
So what is your first day like? Like you
Oh.
you say, okay, we create Vino Joy. What's happening after that?
Oh my God. And I just like, I don't think like for 3 months I left my apartment. It was just myself. And I was just like writing all sorts of news and really trying to set up the business as well. Like figuring out financially too, because I don't have any like investment or financial backing. So it was all come from my personal savings. I'm like, oh my God, how do I make this a viable business as well? Like at the same time, it's a new platform. Like you don't have the audience yet. So it's really like I need to drive and grow content to build that readership. So that was my priority number one. And priority number two is really the financial aspects. Like how do I sustain this, you know?
And so how did you... like, what is the business model behind such a media? How did you found a balance in it?
So at the beginning, and it was very traditional business media. So it's a lot of media partnership. And then luckily, we're able to grow our readership quite quickly. Like within the first year, we already established we have the sort of web traffic, the people on the newsletter. So we're able to use that data as leverage and talk to different media groups, like also wine regions to say, guys, look, if you want to come look for China or Asia, we can be as a platform to help you amplify that sort of messaging and visibility. So we use that to attract advertisers. So it was very traditional, so like relying on advertisers first.
And so the way you were selling it was like cost per 1,000 of views or that type of things, or it was more like one-off?
So it depends. Like we had early one of the sort of the supporters for us is Link's Concept. It's a leading wine importer here in Hong Kong, specializing on trade. They really believed in what I was doing at the time, and then they believed in me and then invested in long-term sort of partnership. And of course, there's some other sort of organizations, they just do a one-off, because I would do that too, because it's a new platform. We don't know what the heck she's doing. She could be mad. And they were just like burying money and wasting money. So a lot of the first-time advertisers with us really just tried it off first time to see the impact and the effects coming from this partnership. And luckily, a lot of them actually stayed with us and continue to invest. So I'm really grateful for that.
And did your business model evolve through all this? Because I guess relying on advertising is okay for a beginning, but it's not
exactly.
Really
so
scale.
Really that's something, even for me as someone, I see myself more like a publisher now, really something that I'm thinking quite a lot about. So there are pros and cons of relying on advertising, but a lot of times the cons is like how much freedom that you will have in doing the stories you want to do. Especially for us, I see the platform as really like the Bloomberg of news for the wine industry, because at the end of the day, you have to think about like you are responsible and honest to your readers first. You can't be too reliant on your advertisers. So we really, 2 years ago, we launched our subscription. So people can pay to get behind the paywall content to have a little bit in-depth and feature stories on what we're doing. And another thing that we launched last year is to start to sell intelligence report. So the 2 reports that we launched so far is China's top 100 importers, because after the pandemic, the market has changed drastically. It's a seismic shift. So the numbers of importers who exited the market is huge. And for a lot of producers, not being able to travel to China, not being able to make the connections, and the fact so many companies folded business, people don't know, like, who should I talk to now? Who are the ones still operating in China? So we came up with this report. Essentially, it's a roadmap and a guidebook on who are the key ones, the reliable ones still operating in China with the company profile, detailed contact information. And then we did the same for Asia, the Asia's top 50 wine importers. So listing out all the key importers operating in Japan, Korea, China, Hong Kong, Indonesia, India, even Thailand. So again, it's offering a roadmap for producers. Maybe they don't have the resources yet to hire a full-time person on the ground to do all those things. They don't know where to go to find research and do those kind of things. So those offer them, like a guidebook, resources to look, okay, those are the ones in the market. I can start researching and making contact with them, gauge the level of interest, and then assess whether we can make some long-term investment in the market and do things like that.
For people listening or viewing this episode, we'll put the link in the description, obviously. So our traditional audience in France, maybe now is changing because we transitioned the content in English and stuff. But it was we had a lot of winemakers actually. So if the Asian market is important, I guess it's important. But if you don't have the resources or if you want to look into it, we'll put the link in the description right below this episode. So this is about your business model. So advertisement, subscription, intelligence
report.
And do you do also a bit of consulting or
no, not really.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
we're not doing that. So only a little bit thing that we're doing is social media for wineries who are interested in China. Like social media in China is so vastly different from the social media we know. So we do handle and manage for a few clients on social media, help them do strategies and content posting for WeChat and Red Note, 小红书. Yeah, so that's something we do and something that I'm quite curious to learn more as well.
So you can soon find me on Xiaohongshu.
Oh, great! See, that's the code to crack the Chinese market. If you really want to reach the audience, you have to be on those platforms. One of the early even misconceptions I have from wineries is like, if we do this, I can just recycle whatever contents we posted for Facebook or for China. Obviously, it doesn't work. Like the voice, the language, the materials, the messaging they're trying to convey, you have to really localize and adapt for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's something pretty funny in France because this is something I realize is that we have super low contact and vision over what's really happening in China or even in Asia in general, but in China mainly. Because so the only thing that we have is basically the news, but like the official news from from newspapers in France, like from TV or whatever. But what I mean by that is that we don't share any social media platforms or very little. Like actually the number of Chinese people actually on Instagram that I can check their profile and stuff.
Oh, very limited.
It's super limited. And so I don't see the real life in China when I'm in Europe. And like coming here, so now I have a Xiaohongshu, so I see the aesthetic that is completely different than what we have on Instagram in Europe. The same, we were in Shenzhen, I think 1 month ago or something like that. It's definitely not what I was expecting, and like you have all this shift to do. And for people trying to import wine here or trying to position their wine in Asia, it's super important either to come,
absolutely,
I think it's the best, at least to come, and to also try to be more informed, check the social media platforms, all that type of things, because it's really really different.
Oh, absolutely. I can't agree more. I think for any wineries who are interested in this market, it's so important to come here. Whatever you read in the news, it's like, I always tell people, it's like reading your, X-ray imaging. You see the skeletons, bones there, but that's it. But you coming here to be in the market, making that contact with the people here and talking to them, it's like putting the flesh and blood into it, and then a human being comes to life, right? So that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we are going to Shanghai in 3 weeks for tasting there and meeting people as well. And I hope I will learn a lot during this trip, because
great. Let me know who you want to meet. I can put you in contact with some people.
Absolutely. So let's get back to Vino Joy. So you created that in 2019. So as we told at the beginning, it's been 6 years. It was 6 years that were absolutely challenging for the Asian market. I guess for you it's good because you have a lot of things to say and like a lot of change.
A lot of times it's like for us, we report news. So it's good or bad. We have to report it. And then one of the complaints we consistently get from even export managers in Asia and China is like, why you always write about negative stories? But like, this is what's happening on the ground. If people think about it, if we only write positive stories, oh my God, China market is so great. But all the data, the information we get is saying otherwise. Imagine a winery or even wine association or government pumping so much money into the market and then nothing in return. I would be misleading people. So people are like, oh, why are there so many negative stories?
So tell us a bit about how the market evolved. I've heard that there was pre-COVID and post-COVID. People are drinking less in restaurants, way more Chinese wines. But what is your view on
it's really, things have changed so much. Pre-pandemic, China was having the booming days. 2017, 2018, that was really the golden years of China. I remember 2018, we have an expo in Hong Kong, and at the time they actually had a report with the IWSR. They're projecting at this growth rate, China is going to overtake France as the second biggest wine market, only behind the US by 2021. Of course, that never happened. With the pandemic, with the economic slowdown, that really has taken a toll on the industry. And most recently, even coming after the pandemic, the market is still recovering. Australian wines are coming back. But now the government is actually restricting alcohol anywhere, like government meals or any kind of official banquets. So it's really putting a damp on this the alcoholic beverage industry, to the extent people are scared of going out to restaurants or being seen drinking alcohol. So that's something that we have to sort of come to terms with.
It's like a public health view?
It's actually the government just clamping down on it, because before there was a lot of corruption. And the booming days of wine, that people were giving Lafite 82 as gift, to different officials. Then they had the anti-corruption drive in 2012, and that really shaved off a lot of the fine wine sales, particularly from Baudelaire's. And then coming after that is the slow recovery, and the market gradually was booming. And then came the pandemic. Everything was shut off, and also they launched anti-dumping tariff investigation into Australian wines. So at the time, Australia was China's biggest wine supplier, overtaking France, and that was taken out of the equation. So they're essentially looking at a market that got halved by size, starting from the pandemic. And now Australian wines are back after the tariffs being lifted last year. But then again, the alcohol ban, it's having a lot of damages to the industry. So it's very challenging.
Yeah. So you can definitely corrupt me with wine. For people who are listening, everything that I can eat or drink, it's not really corruption because it disappears. So so that works. It's interesting because so a few things that come to mind when you say that. The first thing is that coming from Europe, we tend to be super focused on the wines that we produce in France, or from the wines that are super close to us, like, Italy, a bit of Spain, but that's it. Like the vision that we can have about wine in France is actually kind of restricting, which is nice because we have beautiful wines.
Yeah, we have so many good wines.
Yeah, there are so many good wines in France that why would you look elsewhere? But the hard reality of a market is that when you arrive in Hong Kong, actually there are good wines from all over the world.
Yeah.
And so, as you said, Australian wines were a big part of imports here in Hong Kong and in China in general. And I guess it's a competition between all the regions trying to position themselves.
Yeah. Hong Kong is an exception though,
Okay.
Because with other different Asian markets like Japan, Korea, Chilean wine is quite strong, French wine, of course, quite strong. Hong Kong is really an outlier. In fact, it's still so loyal to French wines, despite the fact it's wine-free, tariff-free, tax-free. If we look at French wines alone, it's like 70% of the market share by value. Just looking at the imported wines here in Hong Kong. And the average price of French wine is also the highest in Hong Kong across Asia. It's about like $50 per liter. So average price. Hong Kong is really a premium.
Yeah, which is already super premium.
Yeah, and if you look at the Bourgogne's export data, like to Hong Kong, you can see a Grand Cru, Premier Cru all coming here. So it's a really premium market. China, they used to have a heavy reliance on French wines, but now it has shifted. French wine, I would say the market share is about 35%, has dropped quite a lot.
It may be explained because there are a lot of French people in Hong Kong, a lot of French restaurants as well. So maybe it drives also consumption
absolutely
on this. So this was the first thing, and competition between region, which is super interesting. But you were also talking about all the different markets in Asia, and I guess maybe you can tell me a bit more about this. But I guess that the Thailand, Vietnam, even Japanese market are completely different from, and like sometimes we see Asia as one big block, coming from Europe or the US. We're like, yeah, this is Asia.
Yeah.
But actually, Asia is kind of big and super different.
Exactly. So like you have North Asia, like Japan, Korea, the very developed and mature markets, very much in the sense as London or New York, Hong Kong, same group as well. And then you have Southeast Asia, which has like so many different other countries, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand. Each one speaks a different language as well. So the dynamics, and each one has different restrictions in terms of alcohol as well. Thailand is very liberal, open about alcohol, whereas you have Vietnam is actually trying to put more taxes on alcohol to rein in the consumption. So different altitudes as well towards alcohol and drinking in general. So completely different.
And do you have do the work that you do also brings to light like market preferences, or like maybe Thailand prefers, I don't know, like Loire Valley thing, and do you see that type of things?
Yeah, that's interesting. We didn't notice like a particular market's preference, but one thing we did notice is that actually across Asia now, it's the growth of white wine, and it's reflected in the imports data. You can see. For Thailand, for Korea, for Japan, for China, you definitely see the growth of New Zealand and Germany.
Okay.
And those two categories, invariably, it's white wine dominated. So you're seeing that growth across the board, which is something really interesting.
It's super interesting because maybe it also shows more market maturity in terms of taste. Maybe you like red wine is a bit the thing that you drink by default, but when you start being interesting in wine, you also like want to go a bit deep and being like, okay, maybe this white wine and stuff.
Yeah.
And I also believe that my belief is with the food that we have, white wine is absolutely
it's more food friendly for food, generally in this
like
part of the market.
For spicy foods and
and also I think I can't remember the scientist's name, but someone actually came up with the idea first. With global warming, white wine is actually going to see more growth because it's getting hotter and hotter. You don't want to drink a big, jammy red anymore. You want something crispy, lively, So that sort of explains it maybe as why white wine is growing. And it's not just really growing in this part of the world. I think white wine globally, it's trending up too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun. We actually did a piece of content, I think it was like 1 month ago or something.
Yeah.
Temperatures in, I think it was in London. It was like 25 degrees Celsius in London or something like that. And instantly you could see rosé boom.
Can imagine. It was Waitrose or some other super outlet. They actually said there's a rosé index. So temperature comes to this point and rosé sales is booming.
So it's pretty fun. Maybe we'll see that. We'll see that pretty soon in Hong Kong. Okay, so this is the trends in terms of market repartitions. Do you see? I think one question is interesting. Is what is the how can I say? What is the like generational drive around wine? So like you have
that's something. Yeah, that's something I think. that's a hot topic. Like everyone is talking about it, and especially Gen Z, younger consumers are not drinking wine. They're falling out of love with wine, and boomers are not drinking enough, and young consumers just lost interest. And that's something I get asked a lot as well. Like, what's it like in Asia? And there's no simple answer to it. It's quite complicated, and one impression that I have, at least in China, is that young generations, they do tend to favor wine slightly, because the older generation in China, they grow up drinking baijiu. So when the young ones come into the scene and they want something to distinguish themselves, find something that's cool, they actually go for wine. But that's my impression. But again, on the ground, reality is so complicated. 2 months ago, I was giving a lecture at City University here in Hong Kong, and then it's a classroom of 20-something journalists again studying Hong Kong. And I was talking about wine. At the end of it, I was asking them, so guys, how many of you guys drink wine on a regular basis? None raised their hand. I'm like, what? What is going on? What's wrong, guys? Like, why are you not drinking wine? They're saying they have so much pressure in finding a job, securing that kind of stability in life, and really at the start of the career. Those kids are so responsible nowadays. They don't go out partying, they don't go out clubbing. A little bit free time they have, they do something they're interested in. And if they go out hang out with friends, they choose, cocktails, and that's it. Wine is something that they really don't gravitate towards too. So that's something I'm like, wow, this is really a complicated picture. Maybe it's related to the fact the young generation are more responsible, more risk averse, and has more like job pressure as well. So that they're not drinking at this stage.
So it's fun because it's also the same perspective that we have in Europe. You can see younger generation drinking less and less.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a problem, but for the wine industry, it's a problem. Because
yes, it's definitely a problem. I think, it's definitely a problem. So one of the things we're trying to do, it's at the very early stage, is to rally support from different wine associations. Then we want to sort of really start and commission a comprehensive study survey towards Gen Z in China to give that really realistic sort of picture of their altitude, their relationship with wine, and to offer that kind of insights. Yeah, so that's something we're trying to do.
So this is a study that you're launching?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It must be super, like the methodology around that, going to survey Gen Z in China, it must be a lot of work.
And then we have to figure out like what are the cities, we have to budget first tier cities and second tier cities and third tier cities and spread out the samples. So we're still working that out and talking to different agencies on the ground who can do that for us. Yeah.
And the results would be amazing. I'm super curious of what's happening. How do you source your news? It was a question I had because, for me, so we can say that we are building a media, but it's a media that is not relying on hot news.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, we rely mostly on evergreen content about stories about people and like showing the things. But like when I go to your website, I see like all these news that are new. So like really every day.
Absolutely. It's a very demanding job because it's a news website. So we have to stay on top of, what's happening, really to have the pulse of the market. So a lot of times we're just really like monitoring news across different Chinese language platforms to see what's happening. And also we have a great pool of contacts in China. So anything that's happening, some rumors or some tips coming in, so we stay on it and do check and verify and do stories like that as well. And then there are some stories like feature stories and that requires more time. So we can just sit on it and plan for it like 2 or 3 weeks. And it has more sort of levity towards that kind of story. So it's a combination of really having those kind of fast-paced story, like breaking stories, something happened, and then developing the feature stories, in-depth reports as well.
How many are you in the team right now?
Right now, we have 4 people.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. Actually, one in Chengdu, he's full-time with us doing the reporting, and one in Shenzhen, who's actually with us and then looking after social media. And we had one girl working actually in India, doing the sales lead. But unfortunately, she's been sick for like 3 months, so we have to look for someone else.
So if you're in India and want to work, I'm not sure it's my audience yet, but we never know.
Yeah.
Okay, so but you already spread the team between China and India. You didn't want to have a physical team here in Hong Kong?
Hong Kong, it's just me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just me.
Okay. And how do you manage to...
Also, it's just really remote working. Okay. So we were doing that way before the pandemic, right? And it was just... First of all, you have to establish rules and principles, because a lot of times, even for myself, it's a discipline you have to build on. When you're working by yourself, working from home, even though we converted a room to study, and then you could get so many distractions. You just have to have discipline, like in what you do, priorities for the day. You have to just check those things off the day. And then sometimes it's too much. Like my son this morning had some, at the school and vomited and not feeling well to get back. But the time lost, you have to compensate with something else. And, you have to carve out a little bit of time, go to a clubhouse, the meeting room, finish your thing, like finish all the emails and things like that. So it's the same kind of regimen I have to instruct my team, even though it's a small team, but everybody has to follow that. Like you can be flexible with your work hours, but you have to get your job done, what you're supposed to do. Like, I don't care if it's 10 p.m. or something, but you have to get your things done for the day to be able to sign off. So it's building that discipline. I think that's quite important.
Do you sorry.
Yeah, but sometimes you're right, absolutely right. You get people who just really want to go to your office, sit down, do that. But yeah, that's good too. But it's just not something that probably works best for us. You have to be highly disciplined. And
and if you want to have coverage of different regions in China, and China is actually so big, like it's a bit random to say it, but this is something I wasn't realizing before coming here. Is that the distance between some cities is enormous.
It's enormous.
Everything is super well connected. You can use train, planes, whatever. But Beijing is so far from actually Shenzhen and like Shanghai is completely different place.
Absolutely.
It's really distances that are...
but for us, the one good thing is we have a network of importers, distributors in our database, in our contact base. So anything happens right now, like we just call them up or send them a message on WeChat, and then they can reply like instantly or when they can't. So it's very easy nowadays with the convenience of technology like WeChat to reach people.
Absolutely. Do you have, you were talking about social media, but so your main platform is Vino Joy, so the website, but do you also distribute these stories on WeChat?
Yeah. Okay. So Vino Joy News is published in English for our international audience, and then we do have a WeChat account called 月聊九. So that's everything in there is Chinese, actually for our Chinese readers. So I come to realize that two different audiences for us. There are international readers who are reading our website, wanting to know what's going on in China, in Hong Kong, in Asia. And then we have the Chinese readers actually come to us, wanting to know what's going on with the rest of the world. They're very interested in like vintage report, something like wildfires that just happened in France, southern France, that's burning through. What's the impact, on the vineyards? How it's going to affect production? So they actually are very keen to read those kind of stories and Diageo, what's going on, LVMH, to see what's the trends too. So
you also publish news about Europe and rest of the world in WeChat?
Yeah, in WeChat, okay. So for our readers.
So it's double the amount of work actually for you.
Double the amount of work. So for us, because we have so many stories on the website, so not every story is published in Chinese, but stories like LVMH is laying off 1,200 people. So those stories we pick for WeChat because our readers will be interested to know that.
Yeah, makes sense. I think we already covered a lot of things. Marine, do you have questions for Natalie? Always asking the people behind the camera.
Yes, absolutely.
if they have some news, but I think we've already covered a lot. I'm trying just to think for one minute if I had a
Chinese wine. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. Thank you very
Chinese
much.
wine, I remember. You're very interested in Chinese
absolutely.
wine.
So one of our focus is Chinese wines. It's the love of direct recording. Is live recording is this. So when we arrived here, we're like, what can we do? Let's transition this content in English and everything. And then we're like, we have to discover Chinese wines and get into it. How have you seen Chinese wines evolved over this last year and in terms of quality, but also in terms of like market share and penetration?
Oh, I think there's the improvements they've made in Chinese wines really leaps and bounds. Like 10 years ago, if you told me, oh, Chinese wine is really the new hot thing, I'd be like, what? What are you talking about? What kind of drugs are you on? But now when you go back, visit places in Ningxia, Yunnan, you see so many like exciting winemakers coming out and then making interesting stuff and quirky stuff. Because in the past, people were like, oh, Chinese wine is growing in Ningxia. It's like the border of China. So it's very restricting. Now you have more producers on the ground in Ningxia, like experimenting with so many different varietals, Italian varietals, Sangiovese, and Malbec as well, and making some interesting stuff, not just traditional like Bordeaux blend, those big reds and the white wines coming up, Riesling, which is something very exciting, or skin-contacted Riesling as well. And then they have biodynamic wine producers making interesting Pinot Noir as well. And then you have some definitely like funky natural wine producers too in our region. So I think they've really got more confident about the terroir. Because in the past, when people keep telling them, it's the Bordeaux of China, so everybody's resorted to making Cabernet, a Bordeaux blend. I think the more they understand the regional characteristics, the climate, the soil, and then they're more confident and growing the varietals that's best suited for that piece of land. So that's very encouraging. I think that shows confidence in what they're doing too. And then Yunnan in southwestern part of China, which is adjacent to Tibet, and it's very high altitude, and they're making some interesting Burgundian style things. Everybody who's watching Chinese wine scene, is telling me, my God, Yunnan is the upcoming area. That it's like the vineyards are like 2,500 above the sea level, and you get a plot of land that's like 0.5 hectare. But the making of that, like, attending to those wines and craft of that, it's something fascinating and exciting to watch.
So stay posted on this podcast. Subscribe to this podcast because I think we're gonna go to Yunnan. I hope. I think beginning of October or around this time. This time, like in October.
Wow,
so,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the best time to visit too.
Yeah, but I hope we'll have beautiful colors in the vines, and if it's like Burgundy in October, it will be absolutely wonderful.
Oh, that'll be really fun.
So that would be super nice. The thing is, in I don't know how you see it. Maybe it's different in Hong Kong than in the rest of Asia or in the rest of China. But the Chinese wines we actually find super. Like, we don't find that much Chinese wines in Hong Kong. Like, I've been to not to a lot, but to some restaurants. And when I look at the wine menu...
Oh, still don't see a lot of Chinese
still
wine.
don't see them. So I think Black Sheep, they have one restaurant with Chinese wines. Watson's, they have a few Chinese wines. And then but actually not that much.
Yeah, but then a lot of the sort of top 3 Michelin star restaurants like Longjinghun in Four Seasons, they have Chinese wine. Even actually Crystal Room by Chef Sophie Peak used to have dedicated wine lists, like a page full of Chinese wine. I think now they cut it to only just one Chinese wine there. But yeah, definitely, I think they're still trying to find their space on the wine list here. But it was a huge improvement already compared with the first year when I arrived in Hong Kong. There was nothing. Like, you have some standard Chinese wine, and Grace Vineyard was the only wine that you can find here from Ponty back then. And then that was on the list, but that was about it. Now, at least, they really expanded that sort of space for themselves.
And maybe it's also different in China, maybe like mainland China, maybe they consume more Chinese wines, more and more Chinese wines,
So
local
even
wines.
with absolutely. Even on the during this booming days of China's imported wine craze, a lot of consumers are still drinking Chinese wine. We don't have the exact ratio, but it's always about 30% imported wine, 70% domestic wine. So, but back then it was dominated by two big players, Chengyu from Shandong, and then Great Wall, which is state-owned. They're producing a lot of volume. And back then, a lot of those wines are used just stuffing supermarket shelves and banquets, whatever. But they're by any measure, they're not great wines. So now it's far more exciting when you go to even some Chinese supermarkets. You see, oh, wow, quite a few different references beyond those big names. And I think a lot of the boutique producers in China, they've done such an amazing job during the pandemic by appealing to those young drinkers. The way they design the bottles, it's just a long story, but like in China, when they start to make wines, all of the wineries look like a chateau in France.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lack of confidence as well. They feel like they have to emulate that kind of style to be able to sell the wine. But nowadays, you actually go to a lot of the new wineries coming up in China. It's quintessentially Chinese. They are paying respect to their local culture, their local roots, and that translates to their design, the marketing stories as well. In the past, a lot of the Changcheng, wines is like a French chateau. Like, this is not China, but now you look at a lot of producers like Silver Heights, Yandai's Xiaopu, and even like the Domaine des Aromas, another sort of very interesting biodynamic producers in Ningxia. The labels are quintessentially Chinese, and the design, the storytelling, really Chinese, paying homage to
they're
local
embracing
they're really
culture.
embracing that. I think they found an audience with the young consumers coming up who are confident in the quality of their local produce, and resonate, most importantly, to that type of storytelling. Because wine, it's not something that's naturally, like gravitating towards young consumers. It's a foreign product, So they are trying to find that connection to consumers, and they are able to find that with this kind of smartly designed product. So it's something quite encouraging.
It's actually something we absolutely have to do next time we're in China, is to just enter a supermarket and go to the wine section and just look at the bottles.
Oh, you should. That'll be quite interesting.
Yeah.
You should go to like Hema. You'll find some interesting things. But if you go to those really traditional old school like supermarkets, you'll find a Changcheng Great Wall everywhere. But at supermarkets like Sam's Club and Hema, they're really coming up with interesting wine selections.
Yeah, we don't really have that here in
Hong
Hong Kong.
Yeah, Hong Kong.
Like here we have Marketplace, and Fusion.
Marketplace.
It's like,
I don't think they sell any Chinese wine.
No. I've looked into it. It's just a wine.
Yeah.
So they have wines from a lot of different regions, like really a lot. US, French, Australia
a lot. Chile too.
Spain, Chile, like really went from everywhere, but no Chinese.
Yeah, no Chinese. Yeah, you're right. It's just very interesting.
And Fusion is by Park and Shop, and it's kind of the same. They don't.
Yeah.
I've not seen Chinese wines there.
I think City Super, they have one Chinese wine from Puchang in Xinjiang, Saparavi or Ratstakali, actually. But I could be wrong. They might have changed it, but that was the only.
Yeah, it's a super low selection. So next time we're in China, we will go to the supermarket and report on what do we see, what are the labels. Actually, it's super interesting.
Yeah.
Natalie, thank you very much for this interview. It was so great to have you on the podcast. I think I have learned a lot of things, and I hope that the people who are listening learned a lot of things as well. But if they are still there, I think it's the case. So mission accomplished for them. I have 3 last questions that are kind of traditional in this podcast.
All right.
The first thing is, do you have a book recommendation?
It doesn't have to be related to wine, right?
It's better if it's related to wine, but maybe we can say like related to wine or culture in Asia or something like that? Like, what is one traditional thing that I should read if I, want to embrace?
For me, like one of the book that's completely not related to wine is Rivertown by Peter Hessler. It's one of my favorite writers, and I wrote that book while he was serving in Peace Corps in Chongqing as a teacher. So I wrote that about my hometown, Chongqing. So that's one book very close to me, and I had an opportunity to actually interview Peter back when I was in university days. So definitely read that book. It's very interesting, beautifully written. And wine book, I have to say, Eric Asimov, How to Fall in Love with Wine. That's one book that I would recommend to people, especially people coming off without a wine background. It's very easy to read. Because one thing that challenges me, even with a lot of wine encyclopedia books, it's so pedantic.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I like that, but you have to have a mood for that. But I think that's an interesting book for... Oh, and then Billionaire's Vinegar. I really enjoyed that.
This one looks nice. It's in my reading list.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
That's by Ben... I can't remember his last name. That's a really good book about wine fraud. The network, like Thomas Jefferson bottle, in fact, see, that's something you could do. The fake Thomas Jefferson bottle, you can find that in Hong Kong. Park View Hotel in Taitan. So that's owned by, like a huge development, high-end condominium condo there. And then they actually have a public museum section where you can find a lot of Dali sculptures, Dali's work. He is the biggest Salvador Dali collector in Hong Kong, in Asia. And he was a big wine collector too. And he actually bought Jefferson bottle from Rodenstock. Can you imagine that? Yeah. And of course, the bottles are fake. So actually, he put it on display. So people had to see it. You have to see it. It's amazing.
Definitely worth the tour. Good piece of content, actually. So that's perfect. We'll definitely do it. So thank you for these recommendations. Did you have a recent tasting that was nice? Like something you would recommend our audience to try?
Absolutely. I mean, some of the tastings that I had recently was in Burgundy, actually, on this trip, joining Irene. And then they showed us the forgotten grape varietals used to be grown in Bourgogne. And then some of the wineries are making wines out of it, like Melon Blanc, César. So really quirky grape varietals I've never even heard about. And then, it's not a tasting, but one of the sort of most memorable bottles that I tried actually was when I visited Edouard Delaunay, actually in New St. George. And then I was very lucky to have a tour with Laurent, and then they kindly invited me to stay for lunch where Catherine cooked, and Laurent shared with us a bottle of 1959 New St. George straight from his cellar. Oh, my goodness, that was amazing. It was kept in such pristine condition. And when you taste it, well, my goodness, it still has so much life and energy in it. And that was something I definitely will treasure and remember and still savor till this day.
It's funny because I have kind of a similar memory with Laurent because we went to interview him in Burgundy, in Nuit Saint-Georges as well. And it was such a good moment. Like the interview was so nice. He was like really sharing his story with us, And then we went to his house for a tasting. And at the end, he was like, do you want to taste a Grand Cru or do you want to taste his story? And so we chose history.
History, of course.
Yeah, we chose history, and so he I think it was 1989 or something like that.
Mamma mia.
And it was really nice, and like the wine was great. I wouldn't say it was one of the best wine I ever tasted because, time has passed and like it was kind of a random Burgundy that we tasted. So like the ability to age was not the best, but the moment that we had together, this communion around wine, just the sharing of it and stuff made it super special.
Oh,
and I'm forever
absolutely.
grateful that I met him because he is a really nice person and I love what he's doing in Burgundy, like his whole story and stuff.
It's very inspiring, like the family history, how it's really rejuvenating that past history. It's very inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, he's one of the nicest person I've ever met in Burgundy and in this podcast. And I don't know if he's listening a lot, but if he is,
shout out to Laurent.
If he is, shout out to Laurent, Catherine, and the whole family. And finally, who is the next person I should interview?
Oh wow! Since you are here in Hong Kong, you should definitely talk to some of the key characters in this city. Jeremy Stockman, he is the managing director of Watson's Wine, which is the biggest retailer in Hong Kong. You should talk to him. He has so many stories to share. And Greg from Crown Wine Cellar, who has sort of like the biggest storage facility in Hong Kong, and it's in the military bunker too. And I think he was a former diplomat and now is completely intoxicated with wine. He should be someone you talk to. And some of the winemakers, I don't know, have you talked to some Chinese winemakers yet?
Not that much.
Not yet. Okay, so I think Clara from Puchang Winery, she's actually living here in Hong Kong. She can be someone you can reach out to. Grace Vineyard, Judy Chan, she could be someone you can talk to as well. And some sommeliers too, Arnold from Watson's Wine and Johan from Kerry Wines. Yeah, they're interesting character. Oh, you should talk to La Cabanza, Cristobal.
Yeah, absolutely. Crystal, we have to.
Oh, you have to. He's like the godfather of natural wines here in Hong Kong. You should definitely talk to him.
So we have a full list of our next shows, but yeah, if you can put us in relation with some of them,
absolutely,
it would be
happy
nice.
to.
Yeah, absolutely, nice. Thank you very much, Natalie. Thank you for coming to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's really fun.
I hope that you like this experience. For the people who are still here, thank you very much for following this interview, for listening until the end. If you like this interview, share it with friends, with two people who need to discover Chinese wines or who need to come to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Natalie, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much again. See you soon, Hong Kong.
Perfect.
Oh, good. Oh, that was really fun.